You got me?
Yes.
Morning, everyone hear me okay? Look, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all to our 23-24 annual electors meeting. Our annual electors meeting for 25 where we're presenting the 2023-24 annual financial report. I'm not obviously the mayor. Unfortunately, the mayor and the deputy mayor are unable to attend tonight. They are both apologies. It is a requirement that a councillor chair the meeting, and subject to there being no dissension, the mayor has asked that Councillor Kunz step in. He's obviously been experienced in chairing meetings, so assuming that there is no dissension from the meeting, I'd like to hand over to Councillor Kunz to chair tonight's meeting. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, CEO, and thanks for everyone for coming tonight. It's fantastic to see actually quite a big audience and also a number of motions put forward by you all. And hopefully we'll have a very constructive, positive meeting. I'll start by declaring the meeting open, and I'll declare that the annual general meeting of electors of 30 January 25. We start by acknowledging the Whadjuk people, the traditional custodians of the land, and pay our respect to elders both past and present. May I ask everyone here tonight to please turn off all electronic devices, mobile phones, iPads and tablets for the duration of the meeting, as these devices may interfere with the audio equipment. This meeting is being live streamed on the city's website. By being present here at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their voice and or image is being live streamed to the public. Statements made during the meeting are solely those of the person making them. Nothing expressed at this meeting can be attributed to the city. Now, the purpose of this meeting, as many of you will know, is to receive the annual report for the 23-24 and to consider any other matters of general business. But this is your meeting. This is the electors meeting, and you can raise any questions, issues, and present motions to this to council and to the administration. But to start off, Mr. CEO, I hand over to you to read out the procedures for this meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Kunz. Our meeting procedures for tonight's meeting are as follows. An elector has a right to one vote, but does not have to vote. Non-electors are not eligible to vote. Only electors may speak, except with the approval of the presiding member, and a mover of a motion has 5 minutes to speak to their motion. Notice of the motions and questions were to be lodged with the City of Canning by 5 p.m. on the 29th of January 2025. When addressing the meeting, a person shall speak to the meeting using a public microphone, state their name and suburb for recording in minutes, address the meeting through the presiding member, Councillor Kunz. An elector may move a motion at the meeting which will only be considered if it has a seconder. Motions carried at this meeting are not binding on the council. Motions carried will be presented to the March Ordinary Council meeting for council to consider. Voting is determined by a show of hands or other form of open voting determined by the presiding member. A simple majority carries the vote. Minutes of this meeting will be published on the city's website. The presiding member is to determine questions relating to order and procedure that are not listed above. Back to you.
Thank you, CEO. We move to apologies. Mayor Hall, Deputy Mayor Spencer Teo, Councillor Page and Councillor Rodriguez are apologies for this meeting. Councillor Singh has approved leave of absence for 10 December 2024 until the 22nd of April 2025. Mayor Hall actually asked that I pass on his sincere apologies. In performing duties of the mayor, he unfortunately became extremely close with someone who was ill, and he's had to isolate himself, and he didn't want to get you all sick, so he was unable to attend tonight. But he didn't enjoy the fact that he had to miss tonight's meeting, and asked me to pass on his regards. In saying that, the next aspect is the mayoral address, and I am not the mayor. However, we have arranged for Mayor Patrick Hall in a video to prepare a review of the city.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Mayor Patrick Hall, of course, from the City of Canning. The 2023-2024 financial year saw Canning kick some exceptional goals for our community. So join me as we take a look back and do a year in review for the city. Kickstarting the year, we adopted our better budget, focusing on a back to basics approach, providing exceptional service while delivering on better parks and playgrounds, better facilities and better services, helping us focus on what's important to our community. These are things such as our $19 million investment into key city facilities, and those include the redevelopment of change rooms, club rooms and lighting at Hossack Park, or the building renewal works at Prenwick and Canning Ovals. This also included 10 of our playgrounds across Willerton, Queen's Park, Parkwood, Linwood, Ferndale and Riverton being renewed, and that's a fantastic outcome. Our long-awaited $2.2 million Shelley Beach Park Playground project, the first district-level playground for this city, began construction in February while securing $750,000 of grant funding from Lottery West. But our core services and infrastructure remained at the forefront of our investment, with $130 million allocated to their delivery. We continue to review our service delivery to ensure it meets your needs with the introduction of new services such as our bookable on-demand skip bin system for our bulk waste collection to make life a little easier for you. Our Ranger and Community Safety Service team celebrated their 25th year in operation, with the city increasing the funding to our annual security incentive scheme to a whopping $100,000 per annum, helping address community safety concerns. We continue to see great participation at our amazing events, with more than 30,000 people attending our jam-packed events program. Our Global Streets Festival, Job Expo Community Safety Expo, Muddy Hands Festival, New Year's and Australia Day celebrations continued to prove popular with our community as they embrace cultural diversity, community safety, community learning, or maybe just having some fun. I also want to celebrate Council's decision to manage the Wildback Golf Course, the city's own public golf course. We have an existing redevelopment program, and with sound investment into upgraded facilities and a funded maintenance program, we will see this great facility regain its standing as a premier golf course and continue to drive better outcomes for our community. And our Living in Canning survey asked what matters most to you, and our 2024-25 Better Budget for a Brighter Future will use that information to shape our plans for success, and will make Canning one of the most livable places in metropolitan Perth, if it isn't already. We'll continue to strike a balance between meeting the needs of today while planning for tomorrow's brighter future. And finally, I want to take a moment to thank my council colleagues, including Deputy Mayor Amanda Spencer-Teo, our continuing and our new councillors, the City of Canning CEO Michael Littleton, his leadership team, and all of the amazing staff at the City of Canning who throughout each and every year deliver professional and passionate services as we strive to be exceptional. I think we are. Thank you, everyone.
Would there be a round of applause?
Mayor Hall not only speaks on behalf of the city, but he speaks on behalf of council. I was remiss of me not to say thanks to Councillor Bain, Hearn, Parkinson, Secon and Tuchek for coming here tonight to listen to what the community raises. Whilst the Mayor speaks on behalf of the city overall and council, I now ask the CEO to give us an address on behalf of the administration. CEO.
Thank you very much, Councillor Quinzer. And look, after this brief few words, our Director of Corporate and Commercial, Lorraine Driscoll, will present our financial position, and I think you'll be very pleased. I commend the City of Canning's 23-24 annual report and financial statements to this meeting. I would like to acknowledge, firstly, the fantastic work of this leadership team to my left, and to all of the passionate and dedicated staff of the City of Canning for a very successful year. I have asked them to focus on making operational savings throughout the year, and we've done so. We've stabilised our balance sheet, and we have reduced our debt profile and our reliance on debt. And we have increased our reserve balances, which enable us to start to plan for our bright future. We have done this whilst increasing our spend on key community infrastructure projects and improved service that will focus on the livability of our city. Investment in community buildings, on regional playgrounds, in neighbourhood playgrounds have all increased over the last 2 years. And we've also invested in improved services, particularly in our waste parks and community safety areas. We know these are the things that our community value the most, and we'll continue to strive to make our place one of the most livable and desirable in the world. I would also like to acknowledge our elected member group. I appreciate your hard work and dedication, and also your advocacy on behalf of our community. I thank you also for your continued support. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lorraine, but I just want to say a final thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? So I am going to, as the CEO said, I'm going to present to you our 23-24 financial results. Just bear with me. Okay. So firstly, very importantly, we have received an unqualified audit, which means that managed by KPMG with oversight by the Office of the Auditor General have found no issues at all with our financial accounting and records. In terms of our outcome, I'll go through the figures with you in a moment, but just in as a general overview, we have a year-end surplus. And as the surplus is transferred to our reserves, which is in accordance with our budget management policy. But throughout, as part of our ongoing financial management, we review all of our expenditure and income, and midway during the year, we perform a mid-year budget review. So as the CEO has said, we continue to look for opportunities for savings and efficiency that we build that into our budget. So our budget is not set and forget, it's reviewed as the progresses. So in terms of figures, the top part of that table shows you how we budgeted. So we budgeted to have a balanced position, so no deficit at the end of the year, and our actual position, I'll explain those figures to you. So the accounting, when you look at the accounting point of view, there was a surplus, but that surplus was made up of a financial assistance grant, which is a grant provided to every local government, but it's provided in the year prior to when it's to be spent. So we receive it in June, it's for the year following. We've also had a number of projects that we carried forward, and that the net effect of those is about 9.8 million. Again, that's a normal process. Most of the the majority of those projects are capital in nature, and as you would expect, they span across a period of time, so not confined to a particular financial year. So when we do the reversals of that grant that was received in advance and those carry forward projects, we ended up with a surplus of 6 million as opposed to our budget of a balanced position, which means that 6 million now goes into one of our reserves, which is asset replacement reserves. We put 6 million additional into our reserves this year, which is a really good result and gives us an opportunity for future planning around capital spend. Okay, the next statement I'm showing is really just a summarised version of our income statement. So this shows you effectively the top part of it is a profit and loss, and then it shows you other elements of income that we've received, which are not grants, subsidies and contributions. So if you look in the middle column, which is our budget, you'll see that our net, so the first red line, our net operating revenue budget was 3.13, sorry, net operating revenue and over expenses 3.13, our actual return is 11.05. So again, showing you some of that additional income and reduced expenditure that we saw throughout the year. I'm not going to read all this slide. This slide is really just to lead into the next slide, and this is talking about the financial health indicator. So for those of you who were here at last year's Electors meeting, you would have heard us talk about the financial health indicator. It was something that was measured by the department, and it was a way of assessing the financial viability of a local government, and it's based on a number of ratios. It is no longer measured. The department are reviewing how that's measured. However, we continue to measure it so that we can assess our financial viability moving forward, and we look to see those particular ratios and any of those that we need to pay attention. But the result is really good. I'll just So this page here shows you those different ratios. So the financial health indicator is based on 7 ratios, and they're listed down. They're listed there for you, and you'll see that there's a standard basic range that is deemed to be a basic achievement of that ratio, and then there's an advanced. Of those 7 ratios, in comparison to last year, we have improved 5 of those. 1 remains consistent and 1 has slightly dropped. And the one that has slightly dropped is asset sustainability. And assets to sustainability is around your capital expenditure relative to your depreciation expense. And the reason that has dropped is because we had a revaluation of assets and it increased the depreciation figure. So there's no issues of concern. But the excellent news is that when we calculate the financial health indicator, it gives us a result of 91. So you'll see that column on the right-hand side shows you back in 12-13, it was 48, and it's improving every year. So whilst it's not a requirement to calculate it, we continue to calculate it so we can monitor our performance and look at adjustments if required. Sorry, just a little bit of a lag with the pointer. This slide, I appreciate, is very busy, so I'll just highlight a few figures for you. So this is to show you where there's been some variances in terms of expenditure and income. So at the top item is employee expenses. So and we've had a variance of 0.8, so 830,000, and that's a result of vacant positions. We've also had a reduction in costs in our materials and contracts. Materials and contracts are our second largest expense item, and materials and contracts are for support of those big projects, some of which were carried forward, as I explained in a previous slide. And then to the end of that table, fees and charges, you'll see the third last line shows a variance of 4.6. So that's a positive variance of income. And that's as a result of increased fees and charges through our waste services, our Wellback golf course, and statutory planning business units and our tenancy units. So we've received more income than we budgeted for in 23-24. So the statement of financial position, again, I appreciate there's a bit of detail here, but this really is the balance sheet. And this shows you, as the CEO said, how we've continued to strengthen our position. So the middle line with net assets, you'll see at 22-23, our net assets were just a touch over $1 billion. We're now looking at 1.04. So it's showing you that we're investing in our assets. We've got a strong asset base, and our liabilities have reduced from 64 million to just under 50 million for the current year in 23-24. The other thing that we do in terms of managing our finances is to ensure that we maintain borrowings at an acceptable level, but also the plan in 23-24 was to reduce our reliance on borrowing. So this graph shows you how we have done that. So we reduced our borrowings from 22-23 by about $4 million. So no new borrowings in 23-24, which is a really good result to be able to do all this without any additional borrowings. And the last slide I'll show you is our reserves. So these are the money that the funds that we put aside for particular things, and they have grown. And again, as the CEO said, that's been a planned plan to grow our reserves so that we can have funds available for future investment. So you'll see we've got a reserves balance at the end of 24 of about 76 million. Some of those are restricted for particular things, for example, TPS, waste, retirement budget, etc. So of those reserves, there's about 22 million that's available for investment in capital, but the plan in the 24-25 budget is also to continue to grow those reserves. So that, in summary, is an overview of our financial statements for 23-24.
Thank you, Director Driscoll, for all that good news. Before we get to the exciting part of the meeting, we've just got a formality in which we need to adopt the annual report. So mover and a seconder is required on the motion to receive the annual report for the year ended 30 June 2024. The annual report is available on the city's website, and if you take a moment to look through it, you'll see a lot of the great projects, more than what the mayor spoke about in his presentation. In order to move forward with the meeting, I'm able to get a mover for the motion. Sean? Thank you. Can I please get a seconder for the motion? No. The mover of the motion is able to speak on it if you'd like.
No, I've nothing to add, thank you.
Put the motion, and we'll then have the motion put by a show of hands. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands or show me your card. So you can just keep them up. Governance needs to count a number. So 20 in favour. Anyone against the motion? Wonderful. I declare the vote carried in favour. Now that the formalities are finished, we'll move towards general business, where you'll have the opportunity to ask questions and raise matters with council. So for the purposes of this meeting, an elector means a person who is eligible to be enrolled to vote at elections for the City of Canning. First, we'll have the questions submitted in advance. I now open question time at 6:23. When asking a question, can you please state your name and address for recording purposes? If an answer cannot be provided at tonight's meeting, the question will be taken on notice and an answer published in the minutes of the meeting. We do have one question. Oh, sorry, that's questions on the floor. We have no questions submitted in advance. I'll move the questions from the floor. I have one question that's been provided advance notice. When I call your name, can you please come forward to the public microphone, state your name and suburb and your questions. That's Colette Bishop. Can you please approach and ask your question? Thanks, Colette.
Hi, my name is Colette Bishop. My question to the council is in regards to the Southern Link Road Stage 3. Since the background to this is that now we've got MetroNet opening up more roads through the city and through the train station, does this road still need to be built in a very sensitive environment? Because all the traffic studies that were done to support this road was done before Metro decided to do what it was going to do. So the question is, and there's been a lot of controversy about this road as to the congestion it might cause later around Bunnings and stuff like that. Has the council considered whether this road particularly needs to keep being built through a sensitive area, which a lot of residents think that the Cannington Claypan would be an asset to the city centre and those living around it, more than a road that takes less than 2 minutes of travel time and possibly cause more congestion. And we've now got 3 thoroughfares, so that's Hamilton Street, Wharf Street and William Street, that have all been opened because of MetroNet and the building of a roundabout on William Street. Just one more thing is that this road has been on the plans for the state government for over 50 years and a lot has changed. So my question is, do we need this road?
Thank you, Mrs. Bishop. I'll put through to Director Bone. Would you like to answer the question? Director Bone and Director Bone.
Thank you, Councillor Quinzer, through you. Yes, certainly there was a lot of work done by engineering consultants employed by the city. Obviously, that city centre effectively will cater for around 25,000 people. Cecil Avenue, as you know, is a T-junction with Seven Oak Street. Wharf Street is needed on one side, and the connection from Gerrard Street through to Elgin Highway is also required to meet the future demands of the city centre. And certainly the modelling showed that the roundabout, for example, at Gross and Lake Street would fail in a few years without this connection coming through with the additional traffic. So it's certainly needed to manage the, it may be not seen as functional at the moment, but when you look at the future population and demand, it's certainly required.
Thank you, Director Bryan. Mr Bishop, you have another question?
Yes. And this question refers to verge parking. I don't know if any of you living in suburbs, I certainly live within the city centre, and in regards to stratas and public verges in which we spend a lot of money planting trees, the verges are starting to look very decimated because we're now having overflow parking on our verges, and we're supposed to be combating the global heat effect, and that's the reason we're planting trees. But if the council's not keeping up with its policies in managing those verges, we're just wasting money. And so my question is there a way that we can maybe change a bylaw or something to say that if a verge is being visibly destroyed, trees run over, can then the council maybe bring in something to say that verge is no longer permissible to be parked on? Because most of the issues seem to come from strata units. And the interesting thing is because I've just recently become familiar with strata building, and most strata in standard Schedule 2 bylaws, it says that residents aren't supposed to park on common areas. And verge parking basically comes under that because they're reticulated and they're taken care of. So I've been talking to some of the rangers, and the answer from the rangers is that they don't know what the determination or what the schedules are, so they can't enforce the policy. And to give an example, there are some units across from me, and I've raised this once with Senator Bain once a few months back. And I said, so you've got 4 units, 4 bedrooms, so 4 fours are 16, and you only have 8 parking spots. Where are they going to park? You know, especially when it's close to an intersection, and especially if it's on the road is probably quite acceptable because the roads here in Australia are pretty wide compared to the UK. But no, everybody wants to park on the verge that turns into basically Dust Bowl. So I'm thinking that maybe some kind of change in a law that all I have to do is visually look at the verge and say it's been destroyed. We rescind it. We do it for building. When people build their developments, they actually have to pay a fee, and they have to put back the verge as it was before construction took place. So could we maybe have such kind of law as well for the verge that we have?
Thank you, Ms Bishop, for raising this issue.
Yeah.
Perennial issue is very complex. Verges sound very simplistic, but it's actually very hard to regulate. But I'll ask Director Bryan to respond. Director Close, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Kunze. Yes, the management of verges and the parking thereon is a difficult issue. I think what you're proposing, Ms Bishop, would require a review of the local laws. Certainly the rangers do a good job out there trying to administer the finite space which is parking the road reserve. But if there are more permanent restrictions that you are seeking, I'm happy to take that offline and we can consider that, which would require a report through to council to restrict parking on the verge. But as far as removing that verge from availability for parking, that would be something that the local law would need to contemplate, and I don't believe it's.
That's what I'm asking for, is because it's so bad.
We will look into that, but I do
Yeah.
believe what you're asking would require a review and a potential change of the local law. We'll take that on notice.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry, can Director Barral just briefly mention the process of reviewing the local law?
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, it's quite a significant process. It goes through the state.
Takes about 4 years.
Does take a couple of years to progress. There's a number of consultations,
Yeah.
so that it's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
Just getting back to your issue about parking, obviously there's a statewide document called the Residential Design Codes, and they have a parking requirement per unit.
Yeah, I've read it.
Obviously, that's all we can request a developer build on site, so we can't make them build any more than what the R codes require. And sometimes, as you know, that's not quite sufficient to meet the parking demands on the site. But yeah.
You have 2 people, then you end up like 60 to 32 people on the road, in each bedroom. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop, and very interesting to hear you've read the residential design code. You must be very passionate about the subject. Does anyone else have a question from the floor that you'd like to ask? It is your opportunity. This is your meeting. You can ask about any issue under the jurisdiction of the City of Canning, of our staff. Last chance. All right, I'll close question time at 6:33. And we'll move on to the motions of which we have a number. So the motions from this meeting will be presented to the City of Canning Council at the March meeting. A mover and seconder is required on any motion before it can be considered. And we have 8 motions that have been received in advance. The first motion that we'll be considering is from Ms. Sharon Mawson, sorry. Please come forward to the public microphone and state your name, suburb, and the motion you wish to move.
Thank you, Councillor Kunza. My name is Sian Mawson from Gibbs Street, East Cannington. The motion that I'd like to move is that the City implements the recommendation of its local biodiversity strategy to ensure the retention of all remaining native bushland at 351 Bannister Road, Canning Vale, and change its local planning scheme classification for this site from general industry to environmental conservation.
Thanks, Sean. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Mr. Radistock? All right, you've got 5 minutes to speak on the motion, Sean.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Sian Mawson from Gibbs Street, East Cannington. I'm also speaking on behalf of Stephen Johnston of Delphi Court, Rossmoyne, who is unable to attend tonight's meeting because of a prior commitment. The native bushland at 351 Bannister Road, Canning Vale, extends over nearly 7 hectares. No slides working. Right. So yes, the bushland extends over nearly 7 hectares between the Resource Recovery Centre the city's animal care facility, the Swan Transit bus depot, and Roe Highway. To the west, it joins Kenhurst Park, a 53-hectare bush forever reserve in the city of Melville. From our recent observations of the bushland, it is in good to very good condition with many mature trees, a healthy understory of shrubs and ground cover plants, very few woody weeds and minimal bare ground. While we are not aware of any fauna surveys of the site, based on the current management plan for the neighbouring Kenhurst Park, it is likely to provide habitat for a range of native animals, including Carnaby's cockatoos, rainbow bee-eaters, blended fairy wrens, Queeners, and western grey kangaroos. The Bannister Road bushland is a wetland conservation buffer and a pivotal point for 4 ecological linkages. 2 identified in Canning's local biodiversity strategy that extend north and east, and 2 that extend through Kenhurst Park, west to Belia Regional Park and south to the Ranford Road bushland and Jandakot Regional Park. Despite the major environmental attributes of the Bannister Road bushland, it remains open to destruction because of its general industry zoning under the Local Planning Scheme 42. The only classification for the Bannister Road bushland that would ensure its protection from destruction is environmental conservation. Canning residents and ratepayers, I urge you to help preserve this wonderful natural area in our city by supporting this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for that in-depth and, as always, very visual presentation. So this motion will be put as a show of hands. Can I please have all those in favour of the motion turning their green card? Pull them up straight so governments can count.
Carried with motion 20 in favour.
Thank you. Is anyone opposed? No. Thank you. Carried in favour of 20 votes. The next motion will be moved by Ms. Austin and Ms. Walker. Can you please come forward to the public microphone, state your name, suburb, and confirm that this is your motion on the screen? Mary Austin and Christine Walker.
That is not how I put the motion.
Okay, is it different text?
It's been moved by Christine Walker. And it's been seconded by Agnes Baird.
And who's the second? Sorry, Christine.
Agnes Baird, B-A-I-R-D.
Agnes. All right, Christine, that's the motion that you've written.
Correct.
And we're going to have a seconder. The floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Do I have to repeat the motion?
No, you can just.
Thank you very much. The Lions Club of Canning City is a not-for-profit service organisation located in the city of Canning. We provide services to the community by recycling newspapers, cans and bottles. We run a weekly card and craft group for people with disabilities. We provide donated clothing, towels, toiletries, household utensils, etc. to homeless people, and also purchase clothing for children who are receiving treatment at Perth Children's Hospital. We have called this project the Giving Hope Project. We have equipment that we use for fundraising to provide these services: a barbecue trailer, a mobile cool room, and various catering equipment. We must also store historical records of the club, including financial records for government and audit purposes. To provide these services, we currently use half a storage shed at Centenary Reserve in Wilson. The other half is used by sporting clubs. We wish to expand our services to refuges, shelters, and give assistance to those moving from refuges and shelters into a home within the city of Canning. We are unable to do this due to a lack of space within the storage shed. We have been advised that further building cannot be done at Centenary Reserve due to the soil being contaminated. The provision of a shipping container, which could be placed adjacent to the current storage shed, would enable us to store equipment that we do not use on a regular basis and free up space to allow us to sort the donations we receive for our Giving Hope project. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for that passionate presentation and also the work that your group has. Thank you. Letting people that maybe not doing what you do. So thank you. Likewise, as per the last motion, we'll move this to the floor. All those in favour, please show me your yes card.
20 votes in favour.
Any in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. We move to the next motion that's been provided in advance. As from Ms. Megan Chancellor. Sorry, I think you know correct. No? Please state your name, suburb, and confirm that this is your motion on the screen.
Yes, that is my motion. My name is Megan Sesha. I'm from Palmerston Street in St James.
And do we have a seconder?
Dory?
Yours, Lee.
Okay, great. Would you like me to read out the motion?
That's not necessary unless you really want to.
No, that's fine. I'm happy to summarise. Yeah. So good evening, councillors, staff, and of course my fellow electors. Through Councillor Coonser, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the St James Bentley area. As you will be aware, we have a number of major projects going on, including the Bentley redevelopment project. As part of that, it's starting to highlight some issues that we're having around crime, community safety, as well as the rather high social housing ratio that that is being put forward by canning.wa. Now, as a community group, we are absolutely not against social housing in the slightest. We have grave concerns in how it is managed by the Department of Communities, and also the amount of the lack of parity that we're seeing in how these homes are managed. So what we would like to see is that the City of Canning, through the Mayor Patrick Hall, write to the Premier and provide some very clear reasons as to why we're seeing not enough police within the City of Canning. We want to understand a specific strategy that can go to reducing crime, specifically to Bentley, St James and Wilson. A lot of this is antisocial behaviour, petty crime. We also wanted to highlight why the percentage of social housing within Bentley and St James is significantly higher than the mean average for other metro areas, particularly, for example, our social housing number is at 9.6%. Others around the area are 4 to 5%. The next highest is Rivervale at 7%. We would like the Premier to take steps to reduce the number of social housing ratio that's planned for the redevelopment project. As it's been highlighted to councillors in the past, we see a lot of antisocial behaviour that comes from having a higher social housing ratio. And we'd also like the Mayor to provide a report that outlines the Premier's response to the above, and provide that either on the City of Canning website or to concerned community members. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just looking at the motion because obviously this will be presented to council after the same election, and he probably will be, but he might not be Premier at the time. So, however, we get the message. Yeah.
You certainly said there's no deadline on there, but certainly, yeah.
Thank you for that presentation. Before I move it, I just want to make sure that the room is comfortable because it's a bit of a lengthy, that you've seen the motion that's in its entirety. Is there anyone that hasn't been able to read it? All right, I'll put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please show me your green cards.
The motion's been carried with 20 in favour.
Motion's been carried in 20 in favour. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation and for coming down this evening. The next motion that's been provided in advance is from Catherine Longhurst. Catherine, are you here? Ms. Longhurst, please come forward to the public microphone, spell the name, suburb, and confirm that the motion on the screen is written as you've submitted it.
Yes, hi, Catherine Longhurst from James. Yes, I move that, and also be next second first.
Yes, we do. Just last seconder in the room. Megan, you'd like to second it? Thank you. All right, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, my motion is that the city convene a community safety meeting in the community centre no later than May 2025 and invite local members of State Parliament, WA, Police, Law and Justice, University Academic and the Department of Communities to discuss crime and safety and antisocial behaviour in the area. I probably don't need to add much more because Megan did such a good job saying, but we're really struggling in Bentley, St James and Wilson area at the moment. I've been in the neighbourhood watch now for a number of years. City of Canning doing a great job with educating and letting people know how to do things, how to report, how to stay safe. But it feels like it doesn't matter what we do, nothing's changing, whether it's about the police, whether the numbers of the police, they're doing a great job, but they can only do what they can do with the numbers they've got. So yeah, we're trying to work ways, we're trying to involve the public, we're trying to work and find out what we can do. That's a bit better. So yeah, we're hitting the area, we keep cycling around, we hit the area where people are reporting, they're not seeing any change in the crime and they're not feeling safe and they're starting to say, well, why are we reporting it? Nothing's changing and they're stopping reporting it. So it's all. And yeah, it's this bad cycle that we're trying to get through and yeah, be safe because I'm hearing a lot personally that yeah, we just don't feel safe in the area anymore and would like to move out, but we kind of can't because we're stuck because of the crisis at the moment. But so yes, that's my motion for tonight.
Thank you, Catherine. As I mentioned before, I'll put this to the room and can you all in favour please show me your green cards?
Motion's carried with 20.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that motion. And I know we have a few similar sort of motions on this subject. I just want to say it's fantastic that you come down and show us your passion. I only wish you could do the same at the state parliament level. I think that local government is the closest form of government that you can come and speak to us about these issues. I wish that the state parliamentarians would be able to hear this passion and the fact that many in your community are going through what they're going through, and perhaps more resources would be invested. But hopefully following this motion, we'll be able to get something going. We'll move to Ms. Thea Wayne. Have I said your name correctly?
You have said it right. However, I'm the fish without the country without the S, not the fish. If you take H out, we're right. Thank you.
Please state your name, suburb, and confirm that the motion is how you've submitted it, and that's what you'd like to move to.
My name is Thea Whale. Yes, the motion is what I submitted. I am a resident of Pitt Street, St James, and I've been there for just over a year.
Before you start, sorry, as well, I'll just ask if there's a seconder.
Oh,
Catherine. Sorry, now you may proceed. You're 5 minutes.
So I've been a resident of James for just over a year, having chosen Bentley St James to live out my retirement. I chose this area because of its central location, new train line, and the knowledge of the new developments that is Bentley 360, which I believed would lift the profile of the area and bring life and vitality. However, I am deeply concerned to learn of the increasingly high crime rates in our community and the apparent lack of consequences. Through discussions with fellow residents, many in my age group, I have found that many feel unsafe and are unable to fully enjoy the amenities of the area. Further investigation has revealed a history of recurring issues with no clear ownership of responsibilities among government and related departments. I believe we need clear communication on crime prevention responsibilities. Residents provided with clear, accessible information regarding which government bodies and departments are responsible for crime prevention and related responses, and regular reporting and accountability, where there should be a transparent system for tracking the record, tracking crime trends, relevant government and council resolving actions, and measurable outcomes to ensure progress is made. In conclusion, in my opinion, St James is a growing community with an exciting potential, but safety concerns and high crime rates are hindering its development and the well-being of the residents. I urge the council to take immediate steps to address this issue by providing outlines of individual and shared responsibilities between the city, the Department of Housing and WA Police to tackle antisocial behaviour and crime relating to public and government housing in the Bentley and St James area. As I have been informed by people I've chatted to, that things are a bit open-ended. So I have put in this motion that the memorandum of understanding be developed no later than June 2025 after the election, but it's giving us some information and it made publicly available on the community, to the community on the Sydney of Canning website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We obviously, the city relies on another few agencies in order to implement. Absolutely. However, I'm sure the city will do all it can to meet the deadlines, not understanding why this phrase. Can I please have a show of hands with your voting cards to be part of this motion?
A motion's been carried with a vote of 21 in favour.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Whale. Next motion is Fiona Hillary. Is Fiona Hillary here? Thank you, Fiona. Please state your name, suburb, and confirm that the motion on the screen is the motion.
Yes, Fiona Hillary from Bentley. And that is the motion that I put forward.
That is the motion.
I also provided additional information below, aligning to what my other community members have said, specific to 6102, and I'm being very specific, is this particular model. So actually coming up with a solution.
Sorry, just before you start,
yeah.
Just need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You now proceed, 10%. Thank you.
So reading the objectives, I've been quite specific to say what the objectives are, informing this working committee, and I'm actually calling it a working committee, to identify and analyse crime and safety issues, recommend practical solutions, foster partnerships with the local government representatives, both from the City of Canning and the like, which you'll see further down. I've got nominated parties that I've suggested, as well as key actions. So actually conduct surveys, hold the forums, collaborate on actual activities that we're going to run within the 6102 postcode. And this is available, and I'm told will be in the minutes, the detail of all of this. So I don't know if you want me to go through this line by line dot point. I'm just surmising here. The key is the working committee, in my opinion, but yet to be ratified, would involve the neighbourhood watch representative, a 6102 resident, and that particular resident may jump in and out, could be a different resident depending on the topic being discussed, a police representative, City of Canning, local law enforcement, and any other stakeholders. Now, this also doesn't just include residents, it also includes local business. So I've spoken to a number of local businesses and they're to be frustrated. We have a liquor shop in St James that actually has bars on the doors and locks the doors, comes and unlocks the door, lets you in and locks you into the liquor shop so that there's no thefts. So it's out of control, and it's not just 6102, I recognise that, but I'm trying to come up with a working model. And as you'll see in the last dot point, I've said that it will initially focus for a 12-month period, and depending on the success and how it morphs and into what it morphs into, other local communities can also adopt this same thing specific to their areas. Because the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And we're all talking about crime and safety, and I know it's not just 6102, that it's in Wilson and Queen's Park and all other suburbs, but this is where I'm trying to come up with a possible working solution.
Thanks very much for that. Safety is something that gets raised with council quite a lot, so always at the top one or two issues with our community service. So we very much hear what you're saying. I'll put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, can you please raise your green card?
Motion carried with 21 in favour.
Thank you very much, Leanna. Our next motion is to be presented by former councillor George Beecroft. Thank you very much for coming tonight, George. Please come forward, state your name, suburb, and confirm that the motion is correct on the screen.
Yeah. George Beecroft, 9 City Gardens, Cannington. The repeating councillors, officers, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, to quickly start, George. Could we get a seconder for your motion?
Mr. Graham Thomas.
Mr. Graham Thomas. Further comments? Sorry, George, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, through this window here, you can see the stage which the city has erected for popular events that are held very often there. In front of that stage is a large grass area, which gives people a chance to enjoy themselves and join in all of the events which are held there. It's all very well organised. The hours are stipulated. The noise levels are held very well. Sometimes they get a bit much, but most times not too bad. That part of the motion is that part of it is very good. But what is the problem is the vehicles, the people who come and enjoy the events. There is no control whatsoever over this. This motion is to ask the organisers of the events to take control of the parking and make sure that it is what the people of the area would like to see. Now, I say this, it's all very well run. Last Saturday night, there was an event on there, and I don't know who authorised this, but the whole event was moved from the glass area here over to the large parking area, which used to be the old Cannington Bowling Club. So what that did, that restricted the parking in the area, parking spaces around. So there was absolute chaos. On the road across here in City Gardens, it was so bad that if emergency vehicles had to get into the bushland at the end of the regional park, there was no way they would have been able to get in there, or if any of the houses or the emergency for ambulances, there would have been no way of them getting in there. In this, what I would like to add to the motion really is that in the centre of Civic Gardens there is, which is a dual carriageway, there is a centre island, which is grass and which is being used as a parking area, and with people spinning their wheels when they leave and leaving ruts in it. And as there's been no control over parking in the area, the motion is that the organisers be given the parking amendment local law, and advise them that compliance with the law is a basic requirement to ensure public safety. This isn't only happening in Civic Gardens. As on Saturday, it was chaos all around this area. So what I'm asking you to vote for and to agree to is that the organisers be made aware that they have responsibilities with the parking, and that the council officers patrol the area, and where there is illegal parking, they handle the matter in a constructive manner. Thank you.
Can I get you all, those in favour of the motion, to please raise your green card?
Motion is carried with 21 in favour.
Thank you.
It's carried. The answer is yes, but does staff know about the event that happened on the weekend? Does staff know about the event that happened on the weekend? You raised your concerns?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's been investigated as to what happened?
Yes.
All right, thanks, George. The last motion that's been submitted in advance is from Hypatia Evans. Ms. Evans, please come forward to the public microphone, state your name, suburb, and confirm that the motion on the screen is what you would like to put to the floor.
I live in Bentley.
And that's correct.
Sorry. Would like to have the city to convene in a community safety meeting at the Hillview into Cultural Centre in Bentley, no later than April 30th. And invite local members of State Parliament, WA Police, WA Child Protection Services, Department of Justice, representatives of the local magistrate courts and the Department of Community Housing Departments to discuss crime and antisocial behaviour in the area.
Do you have a seconder? Catherine, longer. All right, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
First, I'm going to start with why we want the meeting to commence at Hillview Into Cultural Centre, and why we want the local members of State Parliament to also be there. I'll start with them first because with all the crime and everything in the area, we think it's important that something more gets done in all the areas and with all the other areas to battle the crime and the safety of residents. And with the WA Police, we want to see more action against criminals, and also the young children in the area that are also committing half of these crimes as well, terrorising elderly people, innocent people just walking down the street, people on push bikes, personal belongings are being stolen. The list can go on. And yet, police aren't really doing too much about it because we want to know what else they're going to do to enforce to justice on these criminals. It also comes from the magistrate courts as well. Doesn't seem to matter what the police enforce either and what charges they go on, they always tend to get off with a slap in the arm. How are they going to lower the crime if they're not going to do too much about it? Reason for the Department of Protective Services. Well, that comes down to the children again and also parents. Parents need to enforce with the parents of these children who are in the area, who are terrorising everyone else, doing the breaking and enters, violence towards others, abusive behaviour, antisocial behaviour, all of that. Children Protection Services need to enforce that with the parents to get their children under control so that we can battle the crime in the area. And how is any of that going to happen also to help these criminals and these young children to deter them away from crime when there aren't nothing in place to help keep their minds active and away from the crime and deter them from causing grief in the area pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I please get everyone in the room that's in favour of the motion to please raise your green cards?
Motion is carried with 21 in favour.
And just following on from what I said earlier, obviously right now we're in a very special moment in the timeline of the elections. So if you haven't, and I know many of you would have, especially these crime motions, please make sure you contact all the state candidates to make sure they're very aware of your concerns. This is the time of the election cycle where they're usually very open to listening to people. So they have no reason not to meet with you personally. And whilst we will definitely be taking steps or considering all these motions, I really hope that every candidate in this area will come and listen to your concerns and not abrogate any responsibility that they have. So.
To talk about the caretaking period. We want to get formal responses from government.
Sorry, the CEO just wanted to make a comment.
Look, I thought Councillor Kunz has made some good points around the government process. So the candidates are certainly very keen to listen. I think it is an exceptional opportunity for you all to express your feelings around crime and antisocial behaviour. I think it's a good time. But I did want to articulate that government is now in caretaker, or will be from next week. So it will be very difficult for us to get formal responses from government where we are asking them to attend. So that will happen sometime after the election. So whilst we will consider these matters in March and council will make its determination, I just want you to be aware that administratively the government will be going through a process itself, and that will create some inertia. But to Councillor Kunz's point, our elected politicians are certainly very keen to listen to you all. So some advice at the very least.
Thank you, CEO. Now we move to the motions from the floor. Is there anyone here that may not have submitted a motion in advance that has something on your mind that you'd like to move a motion now? You're very welcome to the opportunity. If you'd like to raise something, feel free to move your motion. Comment? Do the motions.
Very good comment. Shelley. Mine is about verges, which was raised before. The council does some great stuff around if someone's developing a block, they need to fence off their verge tree, sorry. But what is happening is there's nothing about them having to look after that tree. So lots of those mature trees die during the term of the development. So the proposal would be that the council considers that homeowners that are developing a property need to manage the verge tree during development.
There are stipulations in place
That Director Bright.
I will comment on. However, is there a motion?
Maybe the comment could be made. See if the motion's to
Director Bright, do you want to comment on it? To say that it might guide how we formulate this motion.
Yes, you raised the point about there's a current requirement in the development building control stage that the trees to be protected throughout the construction process. But I'm not sure if the policy or position goes into ongoing watering and care of the tree during that process. So if you wanted to put that motion up, we can certainly, I can work with Director Bowe to look at a response in that regard.
Well, if I just comment, I think whilst I understand the intent of the potential motion, I think passing on the responsibility for the continued health of a tree, notwithstanding the obligation to protect it, would be difficult to administer and enforce. There are a number of things that can happen and that actually do happen to trees in the public realm that we as the custodians of the tree don't like to see. So, for example, if a tree was damaged by a third party, how we apply that responsibility to the landowner.
So would the other potential then be that if the trees are dying because they're not being looked after, that the council adds it to their watering regime? And I just need a second.
We'd be happy to do that. We'd be happy to do that.
Right, so you don't need a motion. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for raising that. Anyone else would like to raise a motion? All right. Well, that brings us to the closure of tonight's meeting. March will obviously be a very long meeting as we go through a number of these motions. You're very much invited to, so when the agenda comes out at the beginning of March, you'll get to see what officers have produced with respect to the report and what will be presented to council. You're very much invited to attend our agenda briefing, which is the second Tuesday of the month, and the ordinary council meeting, where the debate will be done on the relevant motions, and you'll be able to speak to council again if you're unhappy with what's provided within the report, or whether you think there should be changes or whatever you might want to advocate for. Tonight, you obviously had more than half of council here tonight. While we had a few apologies, we've got a representative from every single ward who has heard your concerns, and we'll obviously deal with this at the March council meeting. I'd like to thank the councillors for coming and attending. I'd like to thank you all and those who are watching online for attending. And I'd also like to thank staff. Whilst this is the electors meeting, it's also a culmination of 12 months of work with the financial report, and a lot of hard work goes into that. So the people who work in our leisure places in this building, collecting your rubbish, it's a lot of work running the City of Canning, and you should all be proud of what we've delivered and what we've delivered this evening. So thank you very much for attending. With no further business, I close the meeting at 7:13.